Hey guys, Brett Weiss here. Welcome to another video. If you're new to the channel, please hit that subscribe button. So I got really bored at work last night and I got to thinking about what are the names of the next gen consoles going to be for the next generation moving forward. Now, is it too soon to start thinking about names for the next generation of consoles when the new generation just came out in the PlayStation 5 and the Xbox Series X/S? Yes, it is, but I'm in a wacky mood today and I was bored at work last night, so I thought it'd be kind of fun to speculate on what the next consoles are going to be called, since the names of certain current consoles are kind of weird, especially with the Xbox, and I just wanted to just project a little bit forward and I don't know, call me crazy. Video games are about fun, and I just want to have some fun with this video today. And I want to talk about what I think the next console will probably be called for each console, the main three. Nintendo's next console, Sony's next console, and Microsoft's next console. What do I think they're going to call their next console? And what do I think would be a really neat name for their next console, like my dark horse pick? So I'll go over both of those for each of the next, future consoles for the three major brands. And then I'm going to have a surprise at the end regarding another console, so hang around. So the predictable one is the PlayStation. Now, they've been very predictable through the years, and I like that. It makes it very easy for parents, for retailers, for collectors to know what they're getting and to know what they're buying for gifts for other people. Because, hey, I want this for the PlayStation 3. Boom. I want a PlayStation 4 and a couple of games. What do you recommend? Boom. Very easy for the consumer, the holiday gift buyer, or anybody else. Whereas the Xbox can be very confusing. Xbox One, OG Xbox, Xbox Series, blah, blah, blah. But I'll get to that in a little bit. The PlayStation has been very predictable. Sony's been predictable. So they will probably call the next console they do a PlayStation 6. What I would actually like to see them do is go a little bit different route, mix it up a little bit, come up with something not quite so predictable. Even though it's pragmatic and convenient, I think it would be neat just for once for this next console to be called something different. I think a cool name for it would be the PlayStation Vision, because Sony is a visionary console. The new controller for the PlayStation 5 has some really neat features, and Sony is a very forward-looking company, and they seem to be on the cutting edge of things typically. And dating back, my two favorite console names of all time are the ColecoVision and Intellivision. I just love those names, and I really like in recent years the CollectorVision Phoenix. And for some reason, Vision in the title sounds really neat. And I think the PlayStation Vision, I think that'd be a really cool name for the next PlayStation console. It would mix things up. It would make it different. It would sort of go around the tired format of the PlayStation 2, PlayStation 3, and on and on and on. Even though it would be slightly less just utilitarian, like the PlayStation 1 through 5, but I just think it would be more fun than the PlayStation 6. So I figure Sony will probably go with PS6, with PlayStation 6, but I think it'd be cool if they went with PlayStation Vision. All right, next up is Nintendo. What is their next console going to be called? Now, there's speculation that it's going to be called the Switch Pro, and that will be coming out sooner rather than later, because some people, Review Tech USA just did a video on how he feels like the Nintendo Switch, the hardware is aging already, and that it just seems primitive. When he runs a new game on it, that it's already lagging way behind, especially the PlayStation 5 and the Xbox Series X, which are more powerful consoles, and he's wanting them, he thinks it's time for them to come out with a new console, and there are rumors going around that their next console is going to be called the Switch Pro. Now that sounds okay, but I think I think what they might do, maybe. I mean, this is sheer speculation, and I'm just having fun with this. This is a big shot in the dark. But if you look back at their consoles, they've had different, reasoning behind naming their next consoles and what their consoles were to be to begin with. So let me explain. So the Nintendo Entertainment System they named it to be something, in the general public, more than just a video game system, because post-crash, when they were selling it to, toy store owners and to to buyers for toy companies, to Sears and all this kind of stuff, they wanted it to sound like more than a game system, so they called it the Nintendo Entertainment System. In fact, had it Rob, the robot buddy, and the gun and everything. And so anyway, so the Nintendo Entertainment System. And then they had the Super Nintendo Entertainment System, which you might have thought would confuse people because the Wii U was confusing to a lot of people compared to the Wii, but it didn't. So the Nintendo Entertainment System to the Super Nintendo Entertainment System. So it perhaps would make sense to go from the Nintendo Switch to the Switch Pro. Not a big leap. Now, Nintendo's had some other, some other reasons to name their consoles, like the GameCube was the shape of the console, obviously. The Nintendo 64, the processing power, I suppose, it was a 64-bit console, so they called it the Nintendo 64. The Virtual Boy was virtual reality of a sort, so they called it the Virtual Boy, obviously a failure. Now the Wii and the Wii U was confusing, but those were evolutionary steps as consoles. Now, the NES, the Super NES, those just sort of got more powerful along the way, the Nintendo 64. But the Wii was an advance. It was something different. It sort of sidestepped the current, the competitors, Microsoft and Sony. It was, with the motion controls and the emphasis on getting up off the couch and playing the game, much different than what Sony and Microsoft were doing. And what if Nintendo were to make another evolutionary step with their next console? They did this with the Wii U, with the large controller and the big screen, and they did it with the Switch, where you can play it on your TV or on the go. What if Nintendo made another evolutionary step along Nintendo consoles? Because they've done that with the last three. What if the next Nintendo console was the Nintendo VR? Now, there's nothing, I'm not basing this on anything other than the fact that the last few Nintendo consoles have been evolutionary leaps and they've done something different. Now, yeah, there's the PlayStation VR, and I realize that it's a thing. But what if Nintendo's next, main console was virtual reality? Maybe they've been, in one of their secret labs somewhere, really perfecting, really mainstreaming, really honing virtual reality where it could finally be a big mainstream thing, augmented reality. So maybe the Nintendo AR, something like that, where you can actually, like, say you have this Nintendo system and you're wearing a headset or something and you can see what's going on. Yeah, there have been advances toward this, but it's never really gotten mainstream. What if Nintendo was the company that made this fully mainstream and it blew up? So it could be, so my dark horse pick for the next Nintendo console, a huge leap, just having fun here, is either the Nintendo AR or the Nintendo VR. But what it's probably going to be, what's rumored to be at least, is the Switch Pro, the next Nintendo console. There's speculation that it's going to be the Switch Pro, and people are already saying, well, the Switch hardware is aging and it's not running as well compared to the Xbox current, the Xbox Series X or the PlayStation 5. So they need a more powerful Switch, the Switch Pro. We shall see. But anyway, my pick would be the Nintendo AR or the VR, just because I'm having some fun today. Now let's get the Xbox, which just has a ridiculous history with names. Now, the Xbox, I didn't mind that name. I think it's fine. It sounds sort of sexy, I guess. X is always, there's some cool letters like X and Z and whatever. So the Xbox, fine. Xbox 360, not bad. Now after that, I thought their next console would be the Xbox 720, just double the number. I thought that would be fine. But then they had the Xbox 360X, or S, Xbox 360E, Xbox One, Xbox One S, and it just gets more and more confusing. Xbox One X, Xbox Series X, and then the digital equivalent, the Xbox Series X. Holy cow, that is mind-numbingly confusing, especially to parents, for holiday gift buyers, for consumers, and it's a pain in the neck for store owners trying to catalog their inventory and trying to make a sale. Wow. How could Microsoft how could their sales team, their marketing team, done a worse job of marketing these consoles based on the name? Just ridiculous. So if I had to guess on what their next name would be, I couldn't possibly guess, because it could just be maybe something even more confusing than those names. But possibly maybe the Xbox Series Z. Maybe that might make some logical sense. They haven't been particularly logical in their naming so far, but the Xbox Series Z would make some sense. So that's my prediction. But my dark horse pick would be perhaps their most confusing name ever, the Xbox. Just call the next iteration, the next version of Xbox, the next Xbox console. Who knows when it'll be released? Maybe 6 years, 7, 8 years down the road. The way things are going these days, maybe 4 or 5 years down the road. Just call it the Xbox, Microsoft. Let's confuse things even more for your consumers. Why you do this, I have no idea. So let's just call it the Xbox. So that's my dark horse pick. They'll probably call it something like the Xbox Series Z, but who can tell with them? But maybe they'll call it the Xbox just to confuse people even further. So you'd have the Xbox, the OG Xbox, and the Xbox One, and just confuse the heck out of people. Go for it, Microsoft. You're good at that. So my little surprise at the end, you know, the Intellivision Amico is coming out in April next year, spring of next year. And, you know, it's been delayed and everything. And it is the Amico, the Intellivision Amico. That means friend in French, I believe. What if they called it, so what will it probably be? The next, you know, assuming Amico is a success and they come out with another console, sort of a more powerful version. Maybe the Amico 2, the Intellivision Amico 2, that would make sense because there was an Intellivision 2 back in the day for the original console. So the Amico 2, that makes sense. But my dark horse pick would be the Amico Pingyou, P-E-N-G-Y-O-U, at least that's the English spelling of friend in Chinese. So the Amico Pingyou, what the heck, the Amico Pingo, kind of sounds like that. Anyway, that would be my Amico pick, the Pingyou, but it'll probably be the Amico 2 if there is one. Let me know in the comments what you think the next name of the current, you know, the big three, the Sony, Microsoft, Nintendo. What do you think their next console is going to be called? Let me know in the comments, and you can get me what you think it'll be called, and what would your dark horse favorite pick be called? And you can include the Amico as well. Thank you guys for watching. Thank you for subscribing to the channel. I really appreciate it. Just having some fun today. Kind of a goofy video, but hey, video games are all about fun, and I hope you guys feel that way as well. We will talk to you later in another video. Thanks for watching.